Mm.
The broadcast is live.
Hello, everybody. Hello,
Hello.
Eris.
Hi. So, Faerie has invited me to open the space. So, I invite you to take deep belly breath. And feel your presence in your body and your presence in the land where you live. I am sitting here in Banjarab Noongar Buja, near the Wangamat Bilya, near the Lake Gogrup, and I'm thinking about the peoples who have lived on this land for thousands upon thousands of years and their rich culture that continues to this day. Their sovereignty was never ceded. We are colonizers living on colonized land, and the beauty and the tenacity and the amazing teachings of the ancestors and the elders, past, present, and future, still resonate throughout this land. So, we're here for Art Witch Chats today.
I'm going to just mention that I am actually on Wurundjeri country in the Kulin Nation, so another part of this beautiful place that we call home. And I also acknowledge my elders and the elders of the Wurundjeri people. Peace, praise, and power to them.
Yes. So we're stretching a thread across the continent between you and I and the time differences. And we're going to honor that today by lighting a candle. So I'm going to get my awkward candle. It's left over from yesterday.
Look at it, it's beautiful.
We had our Lunarcide ritual, and this candle's actually from the shop that you work at, Faerie.
Really?
Yes.
You have not read well.
Pardon? Well, it's very hot here, and it was in a place where it wasn't in a flat zone, so it's sort of like bent gently over a bit. But it's
you got a little bit of me over there.
Yeah, that's why I used it.
Oh, you're so cute. You're so cute. All right.
So, breathing down into the belly, in our base self, our fetch, our lowest cauldron, feeling present with the inner child and our body and all the beautifulness that is in our body. Sending a breath to that. Sending a breath to our talker, our active selves that speaks on the stream across the globe and is able to express ourselves with words, with artworks, with creativity, with being able to talk for an hour straight about things and the peopling. Sending a breath for talker. And that middle cauldron, that middle self. And drawing down and drawing up, sending a breath to our upper selves, our highest self, our sacred dove, our connection to our highest, most gooderest self. And sending a breath to align all three cells, snapping together. So mote it be. And I light this candle in honor of our Art Witch Chats, episode 2, The Elements of
Fire!
Fire.
Oh, yeah.
Ta-da!
Voila!
I'm going to carefully place this behind me. If it falls over and a fire starts burning behind me,
Please leave a
let me know.
comment. I'll watch the screen. Oh my. Where am I going to put mine?
One other thing. I want to show you one more thing.
Yes, please.
Do you recognize this bottle?
I've got one on my altar as well. Excellent.
I was hoping that, because I've put a few candles on it now, and I was hoping for like the epic drips and stuff like you have on yours, but all the candles I buy are obviously too high quality and
very efficient.
None of them drip. So I need to get some cheap shit candles so that they will do the epic drippage. I want it to look like the set of Phantom of the Opera in here, but...
Are you saying I burn shit candles, Eris?
Pardon? No, not at all. I'm just wondering what the secret is. I mean, some burn like that on purpose. Like I'm at in dust.
I think that each candle is different. Like even some just nothing. They like evaporate.
Yeah, and all the toxins go into our lungs instead.
Lovely. Fire, fire, fire. So I was thinking about what fire meant for art witchery, and to me, I think we were chatting first up when we were pondering episode 2, and we decided one of the aspects was that it was about action. Like it's the act, the willingness to do the work. And sometimes that can be very hard, actually. And this is what actually sets, I think, art witchery apart, is that it's not an armchair sport. It's not a book thing. It's something you actually have to do. You have to do the work of the art witching. And so maybe we can look at how...
I can't believe you're telling me this.
Really? That's silly.
I can't read all my books and be a witch.
No. Well, you can. You can. Like, you can. You do you, babe. But not if you want to be an art witch. I think you actually need to do some art in there.
Oh.
Yeah. Shocking.
Okay.
So I've got some... I thought also, while we were talking about, spirits, like I often like to look at our art witches, like the art witches past, and who they're often who I'll honor as a mighty dead creature with that flame that we light. And I was thinking someone who's popped up in the media recently who we didn't mention last session, but I think it needs some what's the word that you give them? Honourable mention is Rosaline Norton.
Yes.
Like, of course we could have talked about her, but maybe we can honour her today with our work and our chats as well. So there's the her new movie has come out, a documentary of her life.
Witch of King's Cross.
Thank you, darling. Yes. So I'm really looking forward to going to see that.
Yes. And, if anybody's watching from Western Australia, their Combined Coven Social Club, which is like basically the only group that organises things that are for the pagan community here in WA, they have organised a screening of The Witch of King's Cross. So the first session's all sold out. That's the one I'm going to. So if you want to hang out with me, too bad. But the second session, they desperately need to sell these tickets. Otherwise, they're going to be like
in debt.
Sad. So check it out. Go check out Combined Coven Social Club and go get tickets to that, because it will be great to see at the cinemas, supporting a local indie cinema and a Australian filmmaker and the legacy of an amazing art witch.
Yeah. That sounds great. Viva la Rosaline Norton.
I can't wait to see it. Yeah. Pumped.
So, shall I go with my things to chat about? Things to ask you about.
Absolutely.
So, fire, 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 fire. So I feel like fire is transformational. Everything it touches changes. And that's somehow got to do as well when we make artwork. The act of creation is an act of destruction. That canvas behind you is going to be changed through your art witchery. You yourself is changed. The world is changed. Like this is fire and action and will. And then I feel about these three, the cauldrons that you just did that beautiful alignment with us for. These are also fire centers in the body. And so you've got like the cauldron of your belly is definitely, I feel, the willpower. And then there's the cauldron of your heart, and this is your passion. This is the desire that drives us. And then there's the cauldron in the skull. And in your Celtic mythology, that's the Arwen, that's the divine inspiration. So it can be nice sometimes, and I think I probably need it today. I'm feeling a little bit is that I will often help myself feel better by getting said candle as an art witch practice and actually taking that flame into these energy points to revive myself with that extra flame. If I am needing more fire and will and go, go, go in my life, I'll actually apply the fire physically that way. And that even like right now, I can feel it, even though I'm quite haphazardly just chatting about it. But I'm like, oh, yes, this actually is a working practice. So that's really nice as a tool as well. If you're ever like, I find sometimes with art making, I have lots of inspiration, but then the act of doing it, I have all this like all the blep blep that needs to be burnt away so we can actually just get on with the work of making. So that's
I
interesting.
find I can start things, but my blah blah comes in halfway.
Oh, yeah.
That imposter syndrome, like, you're shit.
No.
You know, this is shit. You're wasting time, blah, blah, blah. So keeping the fire burning, I think, is an interesting, stoking the flame, shining the torch, holding it up. That's a big one that I'm trying to incorporate into my practice a bit more now.
Longevity almost.
Yeah. And not hiding your light.
Yes, that's a big one for me too. Yeah, this actually reminds me of our own sacred flame journey that we have had personally in our witchcrafting history together. Like we had a ye olde coven of a sacred flame, but then we've also, in amongst that occurring, we priestess goddesses that are of sacred flames. And I did want to speak to you on that. I've got Bridget as mine, and I wrote down here that I flame tend her triple creature, and so like flame tending for her is an important part of my work. And I wonder if it's the same for Hecate's flame for you, if that is an aspect of how you work with her. Bridget's fire aspect is that inspiration, and those triple points that we just went through, like the fire in the skull, fire in the heart, fire in the belly, is definitely a Bridget practice. And I wonder what is it for Hecate and her flame? Is there anything that would relate with your art witchery? With her?
Yeah, it's something I'm starting to grapple with. It's interesting because she's not really known as a creative or associated with like smithing or like all the beautiful things that Bridget's associated with. Like I've got this cute little oracle deck that has Bridget in it, and she's literally standing there holding an easel with all these paints in front of a canvas, and it's such a beautiful, inspiring card. I can't remember if Hecate's in there or not. I'd have to go get it and have a look. But to me, she's always been associated with this idea of like pulling from like that underworld and that celestial thread that comes down and meets in the middle. But
what in the black thread?
Yeah, and what I've found in the last few a year or two is when I've done work with her, the overwhelming feeling that I get is this nudging towards not hiding. because sometimes she's associated with that journey of Persephone out of the underworld, and there's different versions of the myth and the mysteries. But in one, Hecate is holding up two torches, guiding Persephone back up to the surface. And for me, it's I'm not quite sure if like I identify more with Hecate or with Persephone in that story, of that idea of, is she tugging me along, or is she encouraging me to take on the role as the light bearer, the guide? But to do that, it's really scary. So, and what's funny is like in the different roles that I've played in my life, in particular as a teacher, like an art teacher, like my day job is literally trying to encourage other people to be in their creative power, which is not an easy thing to do. It's got so many layers that you have to like unpack. And by the time a student gets to high school, they're already got that overculture shroud like stuck on them, and you can't just peel off if you see them for 2 hours a week. So applying these lessons to myself and practicing what I preach has been really difficult. And I've literally had meditations with Hecate where I felt her go like grabbing my wrist and yanking it up. So that's interesting. And also what I haven't contemplated, something you said earlier triggered my sort of thought, is where does this flame come from? Like, what is this act of lighting the torch? Where is that source of light? Is there's a, like, everybody has their, not everyone, but I have a mind palace, like this astral temple that I visit. And yeah, so the front of it has got this bridge, and it actually appears in one of my cards for my tarot deck. I've put it on there. But what I didn't put was at the front, there's two massive, you know, those huge torches that, you know, the Olympics when they light the torch. It's very much drawn from that imagery. So there's two big ones, so that as you enter into the temple, it's more of a palace than a temple. Like the word temple doesn't fit, palace doesn't fit. It's just this epic astral temple place. You light your torch in it before you go in. So that's sort of part of my internal like mythology, my internal realm as well. And what I found, because I've been meaning to make a video about Hecate recently, but I haven't because I find it so difficult to talk about. But the more books and the more material I consume about Hecate, the less interest I have in anybody's ideas about Hecate. I'm just like, I do not resonate with how others, so you're just like in your own like bubble. But I feel like our relationships with our deities are so personal, and you know, my Hecate is not someone else's Hecate. Your Bridget is not someone else's Bridget. It's a very interesting dynamic. So it's something I have been thinking about a lot recently, for sure. And my word of the year is shine. So
I love it.
yeah. So
and this actually makes me think about what you were saying with so I'm wanting more things to like get over the hurdle of starting stuff. I feel like I don't know if I need it, but that's what I often get asked from people. And then you're talking about how do we get this longevity? And I really do wonder if that has something to do with this torch raising business. Like, because that's almost the marathon is of the finishing and getting through there's a creative process, and it's been summed up very sweetly in a really shit meme, which is very correct though. And it's the creative process is this like roller coaster of, yeah, this is great, I'm great, oh no, this is shit. Then it's like those old heckling men from the Muppets up the top, like, bro, get them off, oh, it's crap, and then
that's shit.
and then it results in that it's not the app that's crap, it's you that's crap. And then you like want to, you know, like, what's the point? You have this existential crisis, and then you're back on the up again because you've gotten through like, oh my Lord. And so it's how do we roll this how do we go with this crazy roller coaster of creating without going like just like not wanting to paint ever again?
You have to. There's a meme that I like that says you. I can't remember this exactly the wording, but it's something like you can't find inspiration. You have to go after it with a club.
Yes, yes. And there was one Autumn Star said when I was painting, and she said, inspiration must find you working. And that was a famous artist that she always hung on to that. She shared that when we were at retreat. It was really good. We've got some comments in the current thread. Should we like skip over and have a look?
You can be talking and I'm going to be still listening, but I'm going to be turning around.
Yes. Genius of word. All right, so Candy, Soul, and Soil. Hello, darling.
I love your channel. Oh, my God. So inspiring.
Yay. Oh, there you go, darling. All right, she says, hi, ladies. Love heart emoji.
Hi. I love your channel, Candy. So I've been watching a few of Candy's videos recently, and they're so juicy.
All right, well, I'm going to go and hunt you down afterwards, darling. She says, oh, this fire link and creativity is where I've been sitting with Bridget and my art practice lately too. Good. Glad it's relevant. Oh, there's a Ceci Lock on here. We might know her. And she says, loving this discussion. I was at a local weekend retreat a couple of years ago in the Pilbara and exploded at the person facilitating the art therapy session. What she was doing ran deeper than I realised and triggered old trauma and guilt. Thank you to art teachers and art therapists, both of you. Oh, we love you, Sarah.
Oh,
yeah,
love you,
it's
Sarah.
big. Art is a bigger process than just putting some medium on a surface. It really does. It is huge. It is a huge, big thing. So, yep, thank you for honouring that and for sharing that with us there. Candy, Soul, and Soil says, an empty page will never give you inspiration. Correct. It is not. That is not where we seek our inspiration. I like those. Eris, I might have to write down what you said about your inspiration quote, actually. What did you say before we...
I'll send you the meme.
Yes, please. And maybe we can put these memes in our Witch group afterwards.
Yeah, I paraphrased it wrong, as usual. This is why I can't retell other people's jokes, because I always, like, tell the punchline first.
Excellent.
And it's like, oh, hang on a minute. No, wait, pretend you didn't hear that. So I've got a bad memory for other people's jokes, so I will find it and put it in the group. But yeah, it's a goldie.
Alrighty. So we can share that later. We do have an Art Witch circle on Facebook. It's a group for people who want to come and join the Art Witchery chats after these sessions. So feel free to find us and we will put all this stuff in there.
Yes. It's obligation free.
Oh,
do
yeah.
Not spend any money. It is not a... Yeah. It's just a social hangs place.
Oh, and there's a Branny in here. We know you, darling. And she says, morning. Morning.
It's too early.
It's 8 a.m. in the wondrous lands of P-Town.
Yeah.
So,
yes.
Good on you. It feels early over here and it's 11:30 in Melbourne. So well done, you.
Right, I'm just going to let that dry for a bit.
Look at it. So what have you done there? Talk us through.
Okay, so this canvas was it's recycled, so it had something else under it that it did not belong to me. It belonged to another long past student. They're still alive, I hope, but you know they're past. They've passed on. So
into better.
What am I saying? I'm so awkward. So I've painted over it with some. This stuff is gold, by the way. Like, I love it. The Jo Sonja's background colors mixed with some binder medium and maybe another color in there. So I had a really great priming session the other day. I painted over lots of canvases and got some surfaces ready because I'm entering like a different phase of, but I'm sort of like revisiting old things that I used to do, I guess, and just like trusting the process and painting what I want to paint, not worrying about like
Do it.
what.
That's so bloody liberating. Fuck it
Yeah,
all. Just what to do.
yeah. So now I've just because it was pretty much flat black, which I don't like. I'm gonna layer some colors over it to start to bring it to life. I haven't. I've got all my reference images ready for it, but I haven't done a sketch for the composition yet. So I'm going to try not sketching and just going straight on it, which I might regret.
Well, can I talk to you on that? So I guess there's two different approaches. So from an art therapy approach, to dive straight in, what you're going to do is mine your intuitive sources. And then the imagery that occurs is kind of like those surrealist automatic techniques, and where they were delving into the unconscious, and they did that through automatic, like go in, and what is the first voice telling you? It's like put paint here, blah, blah, blah. It's never like a skillful execution, but what it does is it sets that base layer where it's like the truth of you comes out. I don't know if you saw the live quick video I chucked on Instagram the other day of the surface, and I just attacked it in the garden.
I think I did, yes. Yes.
So it looks terrible. Like there's no like actual, I don't know what I'm doing, but the truth of that moment and where my head was at is right there in front of me. And now I can go, oh, okay, I'm seeing these, and these things. Now I can research imagery on these things if I want to pull them out further, add detail. But what's going on is a composition I never would have gathered by trying to think my way to it. That's just one way of approaching your art, but it can be a really nice way if you're wanting to mine the depths. And I do like those surrealist techniques for that, like the automatic drawing, and they do a thing called decalcomania in a lot of the visionary art techniques, where they'll get like your background you've got going on there, and then they'll put a glad wrap or a plasticky recycled surface on it and scrunch it up, and then sit and peer into it, almost like it reminds me of scrying, and you're scrying into the paint to see like what is coming up, like tell me something more art witchy than scrying into your paint marks to find what's chatting back, like ooh la la.
Glad rappermancy.
Oh dear. I don't want to endorse the use of plastic. Let's find like recycled shit we can
recycled glad rappermancy. There's plenty of plastic to still be had.
Yeah. Even by packaging it comes.
Packets, yeah. Everything comes wrapped in plastic. You can't buy a loaf of bread without it. Well,
yeah, perfect. Use all that.
Yeah. So if you don't have glad wrap in your house, then any other plastic could be cool. That could be cool to do on the surface of this canvas. It's interesting because I have done work like that, probably more sketchbook based. But it's funny when you get a canvas, you can have the danger of like, oh, it's a holy canvas. I must do a perfect thing on it. But I think that's the beauty of using recycled canvas is there's literally no stakes in any of these surfaces because they're all recycled.
They're lovely.
So in this year, I'm going to focus on not buying any new canvases and only recycling.
Yeah. Op shops are full of them.
Yeah. If I buy new, I'm going to try wood surface, the wood surfaces you can get now. But I'm going to start with all these canvases that I've been hoarding because I have a problem. And there's a problem here and there's a problem at work. The work problem is much larger. Oh my god! Because I can't throw out canvas. It's
fair enough. It's expensive stuff. There's nothing wrong with it. Why is it going in the bin?
Yeah, and it's just easy to muck around on a recycled canvas because there's no, that's gone. And just setting an intention of it doesn't matter if this is not going to be something that anybody else ever sees. It can just be
Yeah,
play.
that's liberating. It's so liberating to get all that pressure away right at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then goodness if it turns out for something lovely. But that needs to be your very last thought, not the first thought.
Yeah. It's
I
interesting
guess
what you said. Sorry, you go.
no.
Um, you talked about like coming at it from just, okay, I'm gonna see what shapes come out, and then um, it's interesting because I find I'm on the internet a lot, and when you're browsing like different websites, like of course the algorithm on somewhere like Pinterest, which I go to a lot for reference imagery, it feeds you things based on what you've looked at previously. So there's an interesting thing going on there. But also I find there's a bit of magic of discovery of collecting pictures and colors. And what I did in the minutes before we jumped on this stream was I thought I would like a little plan. So I jumped on Pinterest really quickly. I already had a really nice. It was like, when people like want to know what haircuts to get, and there's all these different like people post. There was one that really struck me, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I've saved it, and then I thought, well, where do I want to go with this? And then I was thinking about conversations, and things that have been happening in the last couple of months. And then I just put together a bit of a color scheme in my head, and then I come across all these different images and just plonk them all together. So I've ended up with this. I make like in paint, so I don't have to have all these separate windows open, and I don't have a color printer, and just podging all these pictures together, and then two of them are from artists whose style I really like. That's quite different to each other, so they're not similar artists, but I like different things that both those artists do. And then there's a random like animal, and then there's all these things that go. I'm not making any sense, I don't
No,
think.
you are.
But I find like that act is even though there is some calculation involved, there's a sort of magic in that too, like that natural discovery and pulling together of imagery. There's a magic there, even though it's like digital and it's from finding pictures on Pinterest or whatever. I still think that there's magic there.
Yes. There's a thing
And
with surrealism where they do the collage as a way to draw out the subconscious as well. And so collage is a totally wondrous, surreal technique. And then there's you reminding me of there's a writing technique, but it's got a beautiful name, and it's called exquisite corpse. And that is the idea where you write a line, fold it over, pass it on. Like that is what you're doing, just digitally. Like use the tools you've currently got. Like, yes, do it. Like how beautiful. And you're pulling these things, and it's really in flow. And I know it's in flow because right before we got on this chart, I'm madly on Pinterest and ended up at a hair board and a board about paint. And I was like, what am I doing in here? I need to get ready. And I'm like, oh, look, totally like Eris's strange Pinterest.
You were connecting with my energy, and you lined up and went to Pinterest, because that's exactly what I was doing.
I had a board of haircuts. I was like, and then like, oh, what am I going to paint? I was like, oh. And then I haven't even set up paint. Like, what a shamozzle. It's great. This is beautiful. I like that idea of the collage just done that way. Like, and you're following the flow. Like, oh, I like that. I like that. I like that. I like that. Like, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Because often where I do get stuck is during the sketch. Like I'll sketch something up and I'll be like, oh, but if I'm in flow, it all connects perfectly. So the painting that I am working on right now, that's not this one, has been in flow all the way up till now. But the danger is if I stop, and then a week goes by, a month goes by, 6 months go by, a year goes by, and I'm like, oh, I was really having fun with that painting, and then I stopped, and then like it's trying to like catch a wave that it's the time's passed. So I'm really conscious of that. So I've got that painting sitting behind, but I did do a sketch for that one. But I just wanted to muck around on a canvas for this stream. So
yes. It's hard, I think, to really focus in on a painting and have a chat. live. Like it's
Oh
a
yeah,
bit.
yeah.
I didn't pull out the painting, so I was like, I've got one that I would like to paint over as we're talking about recycling surfaces. I have some old art, like a lot of old big canvases, and I'm not in the style of where I was like 6 years ago. But I have still like a few remnant canvases, and some of them are hanging up in the house, but I'm really not feeling them anymore. Like they are finished. But I love the moment that I was at when I made them. Like I remember one of them was a big hurdle I'd crossed where I couldn't paint for ages, and then all of a sudden this giant painting came out and it was so joyful. But now I'm like, yeah, but I love that memory, but I don't love this image that's here. The finished part, it was the process that was important. So I'm almost at this minute of like bravely going to envelop it in a new layer of life now. So that's exciting.
I guess as long as you've got a photo of it,
Yeah,
you
that's
know.
it.
The problem I have is I was very good at varnishing my old work, and I'd do a layer of oil, like glaze over the top of my acrylics.
Oil, you're done. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've got. It's funny you'd said that because I've got paintings just like that I think I could probably be done with too. But yeah, they're just. Sorry, I'm rummaging in my paint. I've got my paint thing here, so I'm rummaging.
No rules right now. You can rummage.
Yeah. So yeah, I was thinking about that as well, and then I realized, oh no, I can't because they've got oil glazes on them and they've been varnished, so it's game over. I don't know why I varnished them; they're not very good. But at the time, I thought they were good.
Yeah, and it's in that moment, isn't it, of where you are, and
Yeah,
like life is a ongoing process, and
yeah,
art is in the journey with us. And the more we do it, the more we're going to change and refine and grow. And how beautiful!
absolutely.
Yes.
But when I start paintings, I usually do something like this. And I'm trying to also that container that I just held up. That's full of that paint. Some of that paint is very old, like um, too old to probably paint fine details with, but not crap enough to just throw out. So I'm using it to
I keep
chuck
that paint
some.
for backgrounds.
Yeah, yeah. But I've never had that before because when I used to paint acrylic, um, all the paint was in good condition, and now I'm at the stage. I'm of the age where I have 20-year-old paint tubes, and it's a problem. So
Yeah, I don't know. I've got some 20-year-old paint that goes all like oily and split and ew.
yeah, the split is interesting, isn't it? The weird clear liquid that comes out. It's like, ugh. What is this?
So, Edie Fox says, how do you incorporate painting into your magic? So I'm going to speak a little minute on that, and then maybe you can add your 2 cents, darling. So I incorporate my paint. So there's things I incorporate into the paint to add to the magic. And then there's ways that painting can be magic. So I think it's in the ways that it's transformational and the art therapy elements that painting offer to me. So often I'll be painting, it's in intuitive flow. I have no way of knowing which direction we're going. Kind of like a Willy Wonka, if that sounded like his song. That's odd. Anyway, what the hell? Get me a coffee. Wow, that was a really strange tangent. Yes, and so then afterwards, when I ponder the painting, even years later, paintings will talk to me, and they talk to me about the magic of that moment. They'll talk to me about my psychology, about symbols, about paths that I'm working. It'll be strange, like if I'm in that intuitive flow moment in painting, they're always teachers and storytellers, and it's only usually afterwards that I understand them, and they're almost like little magic portals. And then there's ways where like I'll add, so this is a jar full of moon water and some rituals, and I add this into my painting water, so actually adding into the paint the magic of time moon phases ceremonies. And then I'll also on canvases add in sigils and different marks or runes or symbols that I'm working with into layers, so incorporating that into final paintings. But I think the main way that, also on my paintbrushes, some of them have got little runes, and the tools of these paintbrushes will actually live on my altar for a little while, and I'll bless them that way to charge up the moment. And then before I start, I'm like setting that intention, aligning my three souls, dropping in. It's a moment outside of mundane time, and I dive in and listen. Really, that's the main thing that makes it magic, is the listening, and then doing joy. This feels like my actual work in the world. I don't know that there's anything more magic. I'm sure there's other things, but that's just what comes off of the top of my head without being a ranter, too much of a ranter.
No, you're not ranting. And if anyone joined us a little bit late, we did a bit of an alignment at the start, just that idea of setting your intention for the work that you're doing. But I do feel that they talk about the muse in art, like, and different things can be muses. It can be people, it can be spirits, it can be like anything almost. But, and I guess the act of art witchery is consciously engaging with that and having an awareness and working with it. So it's almost like, I'm going to use a basketball analogy in every video. But it's almost like an athlete who has natural talent and they're really good at shooting hoops, but then like this is terrible. Don't enable this. But to train, like to work with that talent and to actually like engage in the things that make you good at the thing that you do, or that it's not necessarily a talent or that you're good at it. It could be just this inclination. But I feel like maybe this is my, maybe I've got a blind spot here, but I feel like everyone has natural creativity that can come through and flow. And it's so sacred and beautiful to consciously engage in that and to let it speak and to listen to it. And that's like, I didn't start off as a witch who started doing art. I started off as someone who did art and became a witch through the art. So I discovered my spiritual practice through my artistic practice. I didn't think I would ever get there. It was never something that I was like. I was not a spiritual child, you know, like even as a teenager, I just liked what I liked. I liked to do what I liked to do. I didn't have a mystical connection with anything in particular that I consciously engaged with. But when I started really plumbing into my artistic practice and looking at the things that I was drawn to drawing and painting and making, I wanted to know why, like, because I've always been curious and I've always been creative. So I wanted to know why these things, why fairies and goddesses and surrealist, strange things, like, why do I like that and not these other things? Because if I just wanted to paint still lifes, or if I wanted to do other kinds of art, I probably would have been more successful in my journey.
Damn it!
So why? So I tried to find an intellectual reason, and through that back door, I came to the collective unconscious, to archetypes, to mysticism, but in a psychoanalytical way, and then started identifying as pagan and a witch because I started going into other, you know, following the trail. And then it wasn't until like a few years into my artistic practice that I got, my spiritual practice, which, you know, these things just started going like that. Like I had the art and then I had the other stuff, and it just became, woven in, the skeins and the threads just bundled in, and they're interlocked now. So it's not negotiable for me. It's part of it. It's a yeah.
Yeah, just is.
Hmm.
Oi, oi, oi. Candy Soul and Soil says, Faerie Eris, do you get a moment where the art takes over and starts controlling the journey? It takes you by the hand rather than you guiding it. And I'm going to say to that, yes, that's exactly the flow state that I'm talking about. It's where I might enter a canvas with the idea like this one in front of me. I'm going to paint you over because I want something nice to sleep under. I've got an intention for dreaming magic for this painting. And then I let go, hopefully. And if I'm successful at getting out of my own way and getting out of the second voice that goes, are you sure you want to put yellow there? If I can shut the fuck up. If I can just tune into the first voice that says, boom, boom, that first voice takes over, and it's not my voice, it's something else. And I think it's linked to that question you had at the beginning, Eris, of what flame are we lighting? Like, where did this flame come from? And I think it's Bridget, it's Hecate, it's bigger than all of that. It's dark witchery. Exciting.
Yeah.
Exciting.
For me, I paint a lot of I really love abstract art. And there's a lot of abstract, I guess you'd call it abstract expressionism in my work. And that is not something that you can plan. It comes through, it's just flow. And you lose time, don't you?
So lovely.
Yeah, it's what you want, isn't it? It's the desirable
You're actually
state.
in the present. You are meditating. That is the
Yes.
true meditation, is the art witchery. Like, that's probably one of the best benefits art witchery has, is a proper meditation practice for folk who can't do the other forms of it. Like, that flow state is so beneficial for you.
Yeah.
Single focus.
Yes.
I'm going to shock you by telling you that there's only 10 minutes left.
Yep.
The time, darlings. In fact,
Speaking of flow state.
I know. I know.
I forget what I was going to say. Yeah, it's gone.
But no,
it's gone.
Blah, blah, blah.
I won't talk for the sake of talking. But did you have anything else on your little plan that you wanted to discuss?
No, I've chatted about my little things. It was like just the surrealism and the goddesses.
Yeah.
Maybe I've got a little thing here about that fire is action. It's how we begin. We have to bravely leap. It's an act of destruction, change, force, flow, transformation.
The fire element thing, I've got memories of. I've gotten really angry at my work in the past, and I have set fire to different things.
Yeah.
Like, I've burnt canvases, which is not great because sometimes there's things that are
so toxic.
It's not burning like wood. It's yeah.
The thing where I used to paint, I don't know if you remember, Eris, when we were at university together, I used to paint really morbid scenery. It was like the beginning of my art therapy. But I painted like some dolls in some precarious situations. And I also have a habit of hanging on to things and like memories and things. Anyway, I realized that those morbid little dolls and their terrible scenarios really needed to leave. And so I did set them all on fire. And it was like this very toxic blue-green flame. But I was like, that's really symbolic of this shit that's getting burned right now. So sometimes you just got to set it on fire.
I'm a big advocate of burning things that do not serve. And if you've got something that is not engaging you, there's a lot of magic in just letting it go and just turfing it. Like,
yeah.
That being said, every sketchbook I've ever done, I've never thrown out.
Neither.
Sketchbooks.
No.
I have burnt like diaries, but this is when I dedicated them to things like shadow work and burning it. I always knew they were going to be burned.
Yes, part of the.
So I think there's nothing wrong with going, you know what, I cocked this up and I'm going to paint over it, or this canvas is now fundamentally cursed. Like if I had a really unsuccessful painting and a really bad time with something, I'm a bit superstitious in that I don't always paint over it. I just get rid of it. So that's usually taking the canvas off the stretcher and reusing the stretcher. So
That's very expensive.
because the palimpsest of what was underneath is still there, and now I wonder, like, I'm starting to dip my toes in subverting that by painting on other people's works, because this canvas here, I've got the memory of that student. I know what was underneath and what they went through to paint that. But what baffles me is why they never took it home. It's like, why didn't you want this? So that's interesting. So I'm sort of dipping my toes into that because I didn't mind the energy of the student, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm
Totally.
like okay with that. So I'm just dipping my toes in what does it mean to transform in a different way of not just like letting things go and getting rid of them, but to actually alchemize the process and to upcycle things in a more positive way. Because I haven't I've shied away from that in the past because I'm such a no, get rid of it. Doesn't work, you know. Why do you still have this sort of thing? So yeah, it's
I remember
interesting.
once you came and saw one of my studios. This would have been back in like 2003, and you walked in and you went, "Why do you have all that stuff?" I just had all this like depressing old art, and you were like, "Why? Why do you get rid of it?" It's so liberating because I'd never thought I could get rid of this stuff I'd been like dragging along with me, like literal art baggage, and you were like, "Why do you have it?" So liberating.
If it makes you feel miserable, why is it there?
Exactly. Why was it there? Oh.
Yeah. Obviously, your mileage may vary, and it's different for everyone. And there might be a really good reason to keep things around. And
Absolutely.
And some people need to carry that around, and they need that because as part of their therapy, like I'm not the art therapist in this chat, that's for sure, but as part of that whole equation, sometimes for some people, I don't think it's a one size fits all and everyone should get rid of all the toxic art they've ever made. Like for some people, it's probably healing to keep it and to have a journey with it.
Yeah, because it's part of the process. Like the time we can let go of things is the time we let go of it. Like it's all relative. And I think sometimes ripping band-aids off is not healing.
Yes.
You know, tender skin under there.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Ceci says, can you each throw to us an art creative podcast we could tune into today while we go off and work on creating? How lovely. So that's a good idea as we
I'm not a podcast listener when it comes to art. I watch YouTube channels.
Do you want to suggest a YouTube channel? Because people can listen while they do things.
I recommend Candy Soul and Soil.
Oh, wow. I think you know this person. Perfect.
On the other side of the spectrum, not witchy, but still inspiring to me, Jess Karp. So Karp with a K, K-A-R-P. I really like her work, and I just like to. There's a lot of artists on YouTube, and you know, YouTube can be podcasts. You don't have to like watch them. You can just listen to them. Yeah, and I don't listen to a lot of art podcasts. The only one I listen to is all about art business, and that is not inspiring. That's something I listen to when I'm working out, like at the gym. And I'm like, yeah.
Podcast that's a little bit art business, but a little bit how do you do abstract paintings. And because I'm not an abstract painter, I find it so inspiring because this artist approaches the world in a totally different mindset to me. So it's just like this perfect, inspiring, different way of looking at art, which I think sometimes tipping myself on my head and seeing the world upside down is inspiring. And so they're called Laura Horn Podcast, Laura Horn Art Podcast, and they're on Instagram as well. They do a podcast with their husband. They're from South Australia. And then there's a dude in the Americas who does one. He interviews artists each session. And he used to do them really regularly. He has not, that I've noticed, they've not been as regular these days. But it's called Create and or Your Creative Push, it's called. And that was very inspiring for me because these artists are all telling you about their work in modern. It's a wide variety of artists, like all the art you can possibly imagine is covered there, and from all over the world. So that's a bit groovy. That's my two little ones.
Yeah, I mix streams. So like if I'm doing one thing, I listen or watch something else completely different.
Yeah. I think it helps with that feeling. Sometimes my critic tells me that all the good art's already been done, so what's the point? Like, that's one of the many lies it tells. And so if I'm tuning in on pop surrealists and they're at the peak of their game, they've got all their skills, whereas I feel I'm still learning. If I compare myself to them, I'm chucking in the towel. Whereas if I go to some totally different genre, I'm free.
Yeah.
We can all do our own thing.
Or, yeah, a different genre of art, but their work is still really inspiring. So another one I love that I've already told you about, Faerie, I can't remember if we mentioned it in the last Art Witch chat, was Christine McConnell.
Yes. Bloody love her.
I need something long, so I'm not like keep coming back and like pressing play and putting something new on. So she has long episodes, and it's her usually crafting. There's a few painting episodes, but most of them are crafting, and that's still really inspiring. And there's beautiful, like, haunting music, and her voice is really calming. So I find that really inspiring too. I've made a lot of cards for my tarot deck to her channel. I just find that so inspiring.
The cinematography is really well done too, considering she keeps putting her cameraman in the basement and gagging him.
Yeah, a captive, she calls him. A captive. That's so funny. He was her Patreon, they do a live stream, and he was actually in the stream. You usually never see him, like, except for a little cameo. He was sitting on the couch the whole time, but he looked like a prop. It was so funny. But at one point he did like get up and he started animating. It was a pumpkin carving stream. It was so funny. But there was something really important I wanted to mention before we wrapped up, and now it's gone, and I'm kicking myself because it was relevant. And what were you talking about before? Podcasts and channels and things.
We talked about everything, Eris. Why don't you put it in the Art Witch circle, and then we can
continue
to
remember it first. I can't remember what it was. Oh, cripes. Oh well, it's gone.
Can you please bring your canvas or take your screen to the? Can we see your canvas more, darling?
Let's come closer. Probably not.
Come closer, my precious.
Nope. Okay. Okay, that's not coming any closer.
Oh no! Is it all wet?
It's wet and it's dripping.
It's just lovely. We've got a little bit of reflection, but it looks good. I'm seeing lots of juicy, drippy gorgeousness. And is this acrylic you're working in? I imagine.
Yeah, acrylic.
And is it really super wet? Is that how you're getting the lovely flow? Sometimes I feel my acrylic application is too dry.
That's completely soaked.
I love it.
You probably saw, I don't know if you saw me just then, but I started finger painting a bit.
Show me your hand.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the Art Witch manicure.
Yeah. I think the most important message that we would have is to start and don't overthink it. And that's what I was going to say. I remembered it when you said, "Oh, what is the point of making art when there's so much good art out there?" Because I had that exact crisis with my tarot deck. I thought, "What is the point of this?" Because I could already think of about 10 different artists who have done this way better than me, and why would I bother. And then someone replied to me, because I voiced this on Twitter, and someone replied and said, they shared a comic, and I'll try and find it and put that in the Art Witch group as well. And it was like sort of like what artists think or what writers think and what the audience thinks. And the audience actually, it's like cake. You know, one cake, yum, I love cake. And then someone gives you another cake, you're like, 2 cakes. Yeah. 2 cakes. Yeah. So it's like you're thinking, oh, why would I make a cake? It's already been, people have cake all the time. There's so much cake out there. Nobody needs my cake. But people are like, I need cake. And I'm just realizing I got paint on my shirt. I need cake. I want cake. Give me the cake. 2 cakes. 3 cakes.
So true. Yes.
I'm a bit sad to put paint on that shirt, but on the other hand, like, I haven't been wearing it because I'm like, oh, I can't wear this shirt. I don't know why I've been thinking that, but
fraud police.
So I'm going to wear it more and put more paint on it. So
can you stand up and show us your shirt a bit more? Oh, indeed, darling.
Which is against white supremacy.
Yes.
And the person who created this design, I will link that as well. They have a shop in the US, but it came to me really fast. So I think they must have fulfillment that's not just US based, if anyone's worried about postage. But that was back earlier last year. So yes, very cool. Yeah.
That's great. And I've got Stevie Nicks on. Oh. It too is covered in paint, alas.
Alas. Everything's just going to get paint on it. It sucks because I'm wearing an apron. I just decided to tuck it down, and then I got paint on me. So that's what I deserve.
Yeah.
I can't believe how fast this went.
I know. It has totally. I have not even cracked open any art materials. Which, how exciting! Thank you so much. I'm so grateful for your time, and I'm so grateful for everyone who's come and interacted and chatted, and how lovely to have you all. How lovely to talk about art witchery, our most favourite thing, together.
Yes, and we're so organised. We've already scheduled our next chat.
So, we're planning.
Our next many chats. We've got a calendar and all. So it's 2 weeks' time, isn't it? Same time.
Same. Your channel though.
But my channel. So we're going to alternate. So we'll keep swapping, and it'll be like my channel, your channel, my channel, your channel. I've made a playlist on my channel now that we can both like share, which is going to have all of the Art Witch chats on there. So this one should be on there, and then that way you can go watch back the previous one or whatever. So yay. I might make another playlist of inspiring videos for people to watch, like Art Witch inspiration. Yeah.
There's so much. That's a great. We can keep it as a resource.
Yeah.
Oh dear. All right. We've got lots of things to go and add to the Art Witch Circle as well.
Yes.
And so we can continue chatting there. I've got a really busy day ahead of me, so I won't be there today, but I will be there during the week coming, I'm sure, at some point.
Yes. Our next one is about water. So get excited. Get watery. All right, we've gone over schedule now.
Yeah, I'm going to go. I'm just turning it off. All right, everybody? Ready?
All right.
Bye.
Bye.